You're listening to Wake Up with Patti Katter, where we're overcoming trials with triumphs. Now, here's your host, Patti Katter.
Hello, everybody. Today I have Denny Katona on the show. Welcome to the show, Denny.
Hi there. How you doing?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for joining me. We're actually recording on the 4th of July weekend, so I really appreciate your time with that. I know it's kind of a busy time for everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Denny, what I love to do on my shows is just jump on in and have my guests tell my listeners a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So I'm originally from a little town in southwestern Pennsylvania called Connellsville. It's kind of equidistant between Pittsburgh and Morgantown. And born and raised up there. Joined the Army National Guard when I was 17. Did the split option thing between my junior and senior year of high school. And then served some time in the part-time guard. Did the college thing for a while. Actually became active National Guard, did recruiting for a couple years, and then 9/11 happened. Flight 93 actually crashed about 45 miles away from where I stood that day. And so I decided to make the switch to the regular Army. I was, young and headstrong and all that type of thing. So I transitioned to the regular Army, had to reclass into chemical operations, and deployed for the invasion of Iraq in 2003, and then again for 2006. And I basically spent 10 years in the regular Army, and enjoyed it. I loved it. But at one point, my knees said, "You're done." And so I ended up getting medically discharged in 2012. And I was very fortunate as I was getting out. I was able to land meaningful employment in the Austin, Texas area. I actually met my wife my first tour at Fort Hood. And so we ended up moving back to Texas and settled in the Austin, Texas area. And here we are.
That's amazing. So I have a question for you. I didn't really realize that you were recruiting at one point.
Yeah.
I still remember my husband's recruiter from the Army, who's probably listening to this. We still talk to him, but I've had several conversations with him over the years about how he sort of felt guilty about recruiting some of these young kids that had to go into wars. So did you have that feeling ever, or because it was before 9/11, you really hadn't thought about it?
Yeah. The majority of my recruiting career was pre 9/11. I put a lot of young men and women in boots at that time. I was, a fairly successful recruiter, and it was in the Army National Guard, and I did have a couple of my enlistees ended up getting wounded in combat and everything like that. So it did affect me, but an analogy that I used said, "Hey, I don't have a crystal ball," because that was one of their questions. I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody could have predicted what happened in 9/11. So, all that type of thing. And then once 9/11 happened, I was, okay, I'm too young to sit behind a desk, and I was already processing the paperwork to transfer. So.
Yeah. And one of the things that I remind that recruiter is, for us, we had a lot of really crappy times. I'm not going to lie, but at the end of the day, we're so very thankful to be, like, right now we live in Florida, and we can't imagine not being here. We love it here. Yeah. And so many amazing things came through those hardships for us. And then the Gold Star families that we've met have also said a lot of the same things, that the people who volunteer to join our military are really strong and resilient, and they were there because they wanted to be. It's not like anybody forced them to be there. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this organization that you have, OP Veteran.
Sure. So to tell that story, I kind of need to go back to, my diagnosis, right? So before I left the regular Army, some strong advice I was given from a friend was, hey, you need to go to mental health or behavioral health and get diagnosed, right, with PTSD if it's appropriate. And so I went and I was diagnosed. So fast forward, I get out and I go to the VA, and it actually took them a couple years to diagnose me with service-related PTSD, and they gave me the standard pharmaceutical cocktail in order to treat that. I mean, as per their treatment protocols. And somebody that I had been friends with, he had been interning with a mental health provider, and he basically asked, well, did they prescribe you a coffin as well? Right. And I learned about this organization called the Korbel-Chad Oelschlager Foundation for PTSD. Their son was diagnosed while he was still an active duty Marine, diagnosed with PTSD, was prescribed a cocktail of, I think, 12 or 13 meds, that he had a toxic pharmacological reaction to those prescriptions, and it killed him. It slowed his heart and killed him. And so they started an organization that funds definitive PTSD treatment outside the VA healthcare system without the assistance of pharmaceuticals. And so I ended up getting help with this through this organization. I underwent EMDR. And so came to find out that they were depleting their coffers because of all the, folks that they were helping. So I said, well, let me see what I can do if I can get a donation for my employer or something like that. And I kind of got the ideas churning. Why don't I put on an event? I know people that would maybe donate, a raffle item or two and maybe bring in a band and stuff like that. So that turned into the first spring kickoff, right? Where we threw an event to help a worthy direct service organization that helps veterans. And we were able to raise, I think, $7,700, which provided 77 contact hours of treatment for veterans. And so that led to me networking within the veteran community and learning about all these different organizations out there that I never heard of. And I felt if I'd never heard of them, other veterans never heard of them. So that led to the first OP VetFest or VetFest. And it was basically just to bring together veteran organizations, veteran nonprofit service organizations, veteran-owned businesses to educate veterans about what's out there as far as volunteer opportunities, services, and everything like that. And so it was a huge success. And after that, that's how we formed OP Veteran. And then that was back in 2016. And over the years, we've kind of matured what we do a little bit, and we've kind of analyzed what did throwing the spring kickoff do for me, right? Because it wasn't just, hey, I threw an event because I'm a nice guy. Yes, but there was a sense of purpose, a sense of mission again by doing this and helping those that help us, right? And so that kind of helped me develop that sense of emotionally transitioning and finding a new purpose and passion outside of the military again. And then just, talking with different folks, and you get introduced to ideas or concepts called thwarted belonging, that loss of identity, that loss of sense of purpose, as well as, perceived burdensomeness. And these are all things that that are known within the veteran community, and that's kind of how we've evolved what we do. And we've, do the spring kickoff, we do OP VetFest, we do just engagement events. We take, we just had our Flag Day Freedom Float where we paid for over 100 veterans to go float the river and just have a great time and commune and connect. And then, we're rolling out a garrison retreat program, which is a 3-day retreat focused on resiliency, peer support, and healthy coping mechanisms. And then we tack on 5 hours of 5 contact hours of treatment for veterans that attend. So it's growing, it's evolving, and it's becoming something very, very, very special.
Mm-hmm. That's really amazing. One of the great things that stood out to me about your organization is you mentioned, I'll let you tell them, how much of the funds that you collect go to your cause.
100%. We are a all volunteer based organization. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I long had dreams to be able to do it full time, but I'm not going to be able to do that selling t-shirts and through sponsorships and, the stuff that we do to raise funds to be able to put on the stuff that we do. It's not at the level to where we're receiving grants and stuff that would fund, full-time employees. And it's really, it's a passion endeavor, right? More than employment. So it's 100%. So,
Yeah. So over this last, 16 years that I've been volunteering and helping nonprofits, I will say that the best ones and the best times that I've had have been the 100% volunteer time, because then birds of a feather flock together. You're not having anybody who wants to dip into the funds to pay for goofy things. So I think that's really, really important. I know it is to me, because I feel like you're a little bit like me in the fact that if somebody donates, someone donates $100, in that $100, you can only do so much with it, right? So I would feel bad, and I think you would too, by taking money out of that, $100. That's,
yeah, that's, that's the thing. I mean, a veteran or a patriot wants to support us, and so they buy t-shirts or coffee or whatever. I mean, that what the profit or the proceeds of that's not going to do anything for me, right? And I mean, I spend more of my own money. I don't even. It's about the cause, right? And the concept of doing it full time is, I guess, probably something that I've kind of left behind a little bit, just because it's about the passion. It's about building up the organization. So and expanding what we do.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your VetFest. That's in October, right?
Yes, October 22nd in Round Rock, Texas. So, as I mentioned before, it started as a 50 vendor event in the back lot of a VFW. And it's grown to last year. We had over 160 different vendors, thousands of veterans and supporters in attendance. We put on a all-day concert featuring veteran musicians. And it's, again, to introduce veterans to different avenues to a post-military passion and purpose. Some will find it within the nonprofit sector and giving back and, working with different nonprofits. Some will find their passion within the veteran entrepreneurial sector, right? Starting a small business and doing whatever, right? Some will find their passion in art. Some will find their passion in music, right? But we hold this event, and it's all to introduce veterans to a post-military passion and purpose. And I mean, we give away, like, every veteran, up to like 500 veterans, we give away like a swag bag with t-shirts, koozies, decals, all that type of thing. And then the veteran concert, it's not just, Joe Guy veteran with a acoustic guitar sitting on a pallet strumming his guitar. It's a produced concert. And it's, we pay our musicians and our veteran musicians because they're pursuing their passion. And it's just a really, really huge event. We take up a huge chunk of this enormous park in Round Rock. So it's a great event. It's really grown and surpassed my expectations of what it would be. So it's pretty amazing.
That's amazing. I think it's because the military community knows that it is 100% nonprofit, really. Because I even have a hard time, buying fancy dinner tickets to go to some fancy event. And then the veterans, at the end of the day, they're not really getting that much help out of it. So I love it. Okay. So tell people how they can sponsor your event.
So we have a number of different sponsorship tiers, and each tier has its perks, right? And but we have tiers at 500, 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, 10,000. And then we even have a custom tier for any donors that want to exceed the $10,000 mark. And we name them after military vehicles. So it's Amtrak, Bradley, Striker, Abrams, Paladin, and then the custom tier is Moab, right? After the Moab bomb, or we call it the mother of all benefactors, right? Type of thing. So, but it's there's, like I said, there's specific perks or whatever for each tier, but it's well worth it. And it's this, I've seen that so much that this is the event that organizations and businesses want to tie their name to, because it's, hey, like I said, each veteran gets a t-shirt, and hey, guess what? We throw the sponsor logos on the back, and the banners, and as well as the media coverage that we get. It's all great marketing, not just, hey, this is your business name, right? But this shows businesses that are showing a dedication to the veteran community. And that's a powerful impact statement for the public.
Yeah. I think as a sponsor, myself, just knowing that those funds are actually going to something that, first of all, this event is going to be a blast for veterans, and then they're going to be able to connect with one another. And I was looking for some sponsorship opportunities that were ran by 100% volunteer organizations. And it was funny because that day you popped up on my Facebook, and I was like, oh my gosh, I owe Denny a phone call. So here we are. But I think it's amazing, you guys, if you're out there listening, and maybe you're a business or an organization, you can't donate the whole sponsorship amount because you might be just starting out or whatever. I'm sure that, they're not going to say no to whatever you can give. It just might not fall into that sponsorship opportunity. But the reason that people usually give, at least speaking for myself, is not for the recognition. It's for actually helping somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons why, we do fund this event through sponsorships is because, like I said, normally a vendor event for a booth, it generally will run a vendor, between $500 and $800. If you're a veteran-owned business, a nonprofit or a governmental agency, there's no fee for you, right? It's 100% fee free, because the event is not about raising funds for us, right? This is not a fundraiser for us. It's about bringing the veteran community together. It's a service that we provide. And because we recognize, hey, there's a lot of nonprofits that pop up that don't have the marketing budget to pay a $800 booth fee, or a small business that doesn't have the money to pay that, right? So that's why this event is funded through sponsorships, right? And it's like I said, we would not be able to do what we do without the help of our community partners and sponsors.
Love it. Love it. Denny, one question I ask all of my guests on my show is, what is one trial that you've been through, and how did you overcome that trial with triumph, or are you still working on it maybe?
Sure. So, I've had one or two, in 2015, and this was actually after I underwent EMDR. That was my, I talked a little bit about feelings of perceived burdensomeness, right? That perceived burdensomeness led to an attempt, right? And it was literally a miracle, right? I was on a cross-country motorcycle trip. I had stopped for the night, and the only reason I didn't go through with it is because I had metal grips on my motorcycle, and I had temporary neuropathy in my hands, and I didn't have the tensile strength to actually pull the trigger. And the huge things that were weighing me down, that I saw as what was causing me to reach that point, those things resolved, right? I had a loss of identity and purpose, right? And then 6 months down the road is when I'm planning the first spring kickoff. I had a feeling of perceived burdensomeness because my wife and I were having a hard time conceiving. A few months later, we conceived, and all those things that were weighing me down were able to resolve. Right. And that was one of the hugest hurdles of my life that I was able to get over. And hell, I mean, right now I'm going through a bit of a health struggle. I was diagnosed with a congenital birth defect 3 years ago. And I've had 4 or 5 surgeries as a result of, and it's difficult. And it's just, I utilize family. I utilize the organization to again, help me realize that there are things outside of myself that I can focus on to help me overcome these health obstacles. And that's what I do.
That really is important to remember to push through those days, because like you said, there is always something that's unexpected in a good way that will come down, it'll happen. So what would you tell somebody who's listening to the show right now who might be suicidal?
Yeah. So, I mean, I see suicide as a permanent solution to a temporary problem, as in my case, and as well as a last act or measure of control in a world where you feel like you have none. And I will say that our traumas, our anxieties, and all the things that's going on with us, it prevents us from thinking clearly. And that's why we go, feel that there's no way out. And that, we feel we feel like it would be an end to our pain, but it's not an end to the pain. It's a transference of our pain to all of those around us. Right. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I've had, like I said, significant health trials. Right. And, the stray thought will pop in my head, but I also know the statistic that 75% of the children of folks that take their own lives are likely to take their own lives as well. So I have a 5-year-old son going on 6. I would never in a million years transfer my pain to my son or to my wife. That's the thing that keeps me going, because there are ways to climb out of that pain. And that's what you have to realize, is just allow that fog of our traumas to clear enough to where you can rationally think, I could never do that to my friends, my family, my children. Right. Because there's ways for us to get out of our own pain. And, we don't want to transfer our pain to others. Right. And that's the biggest realization that we have to come to.
Absolutely. Those who are listening who don't know, my father took his own life. And I will say that for me, like, it has to stop here. You know what I mean? So even on my bad days, I'm not going to pass that down to my children. I don't want that heavy weight to be onto them. And as a child of somebody who took their own life, I feel like I was gypped. I feel like I got the short end of the stick, and I'm mad because I feel like it was a very selfish thing. And I should say I'm healing from that still. So, I mean, I go between, different kinds of feelings, from mad and angry to, I do sympathize, because my parents were together for 50 years and my mom passed away and my dad just couldn't handle it. But it does have to stop with you all. And, or if you're out there listening, you might have a friend who passed away due to suicide, who maybe you served with. But that friend, I'm sure, would never want you to do the same thing, because it just has to stop. So Denny, tell us where people can go find you, first of all, on social media, because you're definitely a light where it's needed.
Sure. So, I mean, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/OP veteran. We're on Instagram. It's at o.p.veteran. We're on the TikTok, but I don't do too much on TikTok with OP veteran. I do more of the personal stuff because it's hard to do nonprofit posts on TikTok. And as well as our website, www.opveteran.org.
What if somebody's in another state and they want to attend your event? They just show up?
Yeah. I mean, there's, we have vendors coming from different states and everything like that. So, I mean, it's, one of the convenient things is there's lodging extremely close to the park venue. And it's all welcome from whether it be locally or nationally. It's about building a community larger than ourselves. So,
and I do want to end on a little bit positive of a note, because we did hit some tough topics.
Sure.
What are some fun things that are going to be happening that day?
So, I mean, the music is amazing. I mean, we have, I know we have two of our musical acts lined up. The Adam Berry Band, a Texas country band, just amazing. They actually donated a song to us a couple years ago called Boots on the Ground. It's an amazing story of the generational sacrifice of service to our country. Then Dom Coors and Company, another amazing band. They have just like the Southern bluesy rock style that's just amazing. We have veteran-owned breweries there that we have beverages. I mean, it's a great time. It's a festival. The swag bags, there's door prizes from all the different vendors and everything, and it's just a great time. I think we're going to have the 1st Cavalry Division Horse Detachment participate in the opening ceremonies. And there's another podcaster, Preston Stewart. He has an amazing voice. And I did a TikTok saying, you know what? Forget Morgan Freeman, forget Samuel L. Jackson. If I have a life story, I want this dude narrating my story. And so he's going to be the master of ceremonies for the event. So it's going to be a great time. So.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. All right. Well, thank you. And go ahead one more time and share your website.
Sure. It's www.opveteran.org.
Okay. And everybody watching, you can see it on the bottom of your screen. Go there right now and check out the website. Make sure you're following the social media accounts. If you're listening, you're going to find these links in the show notes. So Denny, thank you so much for being on the show. Is there any last words that you have for our listeners?
Yeah, just, I mean, the biggest thing for our veteran listeners is just remember your service is just one chapter of our lives. It's just not the most important chapter. Pursue a post-military passion on purpose.
Awesome. And everybody, thank you for listening. Again, go check out opveterans.com.
.org.
And so go opveteran.org, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So thank you all again for listening, and take care. Thank you, Denny.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening. Please head over to pattikatter.com for the latest updates on Patti, her talk show, and what she's up to. You can also find her on Amazon TV and Roku, and on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @Patti Katter. Until next time.